Hello, this is Music Tech Help Guy, and welcome to episode 28 of my Pro Tools video tutorial series. In this episode, we're going to talk about step input. What step input does is it allows you to enter MIDI notes with your MIDI controller, one note or one chord at a time, so that you don't actually have to play to the click tracks. This is really helpful because if you have something that maybe you're not too rehearsed in actually playing in live, and you don't want to have to go back and edit the ends of all the notes and the velocities of all the notes and quantize all the notes, you can use step input to enter the notes in exactly where you want them to be at the exact velocity and exact length and rhythm that you want them to be, so there's no extra editing later. So let me just give you a listen to what I'm working on here. I've got just some, like a synth pad, a couple bass instruments, and some drums. All right, so there's a little synth idea that I want to enter in right over here, and it goes a little like this. Let me just arm my high lead over here. That's the idea that I want to enter in. Instead of entering it in while recording, I'm going to use step input to enter in each note individually. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click just with the cursor, just with the selector tool, wherever I want to start at, right click and say open in MIDI editor. I'm going to make sure that that high lead track is also armed as well. I'm going to go up to event operations, step input, and there's no shortcut for this either. So with step input, you have to make sure it's on, so you enable it. You choose which track you want to record MIDI onto. It's the high lead track. And then you choose a step increment, which is essentially like the quantization value of each note. So eighth note, quarter note, half note, whole note, 16th note, whatever you're going for. You can use triplets too. And then the note length is actually how long each note is. So for instance, right now I have eighth note and 100% selected. So when I start entering notes, you'll see that each note is an eighth note. It's on an eighth note on the grid, but it's also full value. If I were to choose, say, like a shorter note length, like say 70%, and start entering in notes, you'll see that the notes are in the same position, but they're all a little bit shorter. So that's what we want. We want a little bit shorter here. You can also fix your velocity to an exact value. I'm going to go with 100. Or you can actually use the input velocity, which is basically just how hard you hit the key when you're entering in the notes. So I'm not going to do that, though, because I want all of my notes to be the same velocity. A couple last things before I enter in my little idea here. You can actually enable a numeric keyboard shortcut, set of shortcuts. I don't really use this. There's a set. You could probably look it up online and find a screenshot of it, but there's if you use the numeric keypad, there's some shortcuts for step input that you can use. I don't use them. And then lastly, let me just hit delete for these. Lastly, you can click next step, and look what happens to the cursor over here. It moves to the right, and if you undo step, it goes back. There's also a redo step, it'll move back forward, but these are kind of cool. You can either click on them, so like let's say I want to enter in a note like this, and then move forward, skip a step, like with our little idea, bum, 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 our little idea there, that's a little rhythmic idea. You can do that and just click on the button. But another cool little thing you can do with this undo and next step is you can actually click on the none thing here, and you can assign a key on your MIDI controller to be next step and undo step and re-step, or redo step. So for next step, I'm going to choose like a low D, like the lowest D on my keyboard. And for undo, I'm going to choose the lowest C. So now when I hit D1, it doesn't actually enter in a note. The cursor just moves forward. When I hit undo, or I hit C1, it just moves backwards. So I can use those two keys as basically just a way to toggle forward and backward. So I've got the bump, 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 bump in there. Let's get the little second idea in there. Whoops, I missed a note, so I'll get hit back. So again, the low C and the low D are not being used at all. Or they're being used as a control, and they're not actually being used, they're not being entered as a musical value. So let's listen to that. Cool. Let's just hit Command D a bunch of times and repeat that. Another thing I find step input really useful for is when you're trying to enter in like long chords, like maybe 4 bar, like whole note chords that last for like 4 or 5, 6 bars or whatever it is. It's kind of a pain in the ass to just sit there and hold the chord while the metronome is going. You can actually do it way quicker with step input. So like in this next section here, maybe I want to move to like a transition. So maybe there's a different idea I want to enter in here. So let's, on our pad instrument, let's open this up in the MIDI editor. Starting at measure 18, let's pull in step input. And this time we're going to use whole notes. And then I'm going to use a lower value for this, maybe like 80. There we go. And I'm going to just play in some chords. Again, the track has to be armed for this to work. There we go. Let me pull up the step input screen. I think I accidentally closed it out there. There we go. All right, so let's play in the chords. Those are the chords I want, but I forgot to change the note length. So let's step back a couple times. There we go. Let's make this, it's option click on the slider here to set this back to 100%. Let's try that again. There we go. So very, very quickly I was able to enter in those notes. I'll do the same thing for my bass instrument here. I'll just open a MIDI editor. I really should arm the track before I open the MIDI editor, because otherwise that keeps happening. And then we will open up the step input again. And same thing, we use the same values. And I'm just going to hit B to separate that. I'm just going to copy this down, holding Option. Since this is the sub bass track, it's actually an octave lower. So just I don't really need to re-enter that. I'll just grab all of those notes that we just entered. There we go. And we'll just pull those down. There we go. All right, so let's see what all that sounds like. You know what? Let me just try duplicating this idea too. I don't know if this is going to sound good or not, but we'll find out. All right, not bad. I'd probably omit the parts of the lead up here. I'd probably do something more like this, where I take this part out and then duplicate this part on A minor here one more time, and drag over all that and duplicate that. Yeah, really, this one sounds kind of weird, but anyway, I think you get the point. So I hope this video helped you guys to learn how to enter in notes a lot more quickly in Pro Tools. One of the big complaints about Pro Tools is that it's not as intuitive for MIDI as, say, Logic is, but once you learn how to use the event operations window, a lot of the MIDI-based things that Pro Tools can actually do become clear and more easy to work with. So in the next few videos, we're going to be going through a lot of these event operations functions that are really helpful for MIDI editing and MIDI performance. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.